Hey, welcome to Manila Updates TV. Please subscribe and press the bell icon for more updates. The news broke like a thunderclap across the globe. Digital billboards in Times Square, London, and Tokyo flashed with urgent crimson letters. CNN, BBC, Al Jazeera, every major network led with the same startling story. China issues stern warning to Philippines. Beijing claims indisputable sovereignty over disputed waters. Filipino vessels confronted near shoal. The world watched, holding its breath, as a high-stakes drama played out on the shimmering South China Sea. Analysts debated terms like nine-dash line, exclusive economic zone, and freedom of navigation. The narrative, a David versus Goliath struggle, Beijing's power against Manila's resolve. The shock was palpable. How could one country claim a sea that touched so many shores? But for millions of Filipinos, this was not a new crisis. It was a daily reality, a wound that had been festering for years. The true story was not in the halls of power, but on the humble wooden boats that sailed into an increasingly hostile sea. The world was shocked by China's words. But for Filipinos, the real impact was in the actions that had long preceded them. The headlines were just the surface of a much deeper struggle. Long before the headlines, Mang Eli's day began in a small Palawan village. His world was not politics, but nets, tides, and the salt air. At 4 a.m., his wife packed a simple meal as he prepared his wooden outrigger, pag-asa, hope. For generations, his family fished these waters, learning the sea's secrets by heart. The West Philippine Sea was not a disputed territory to him, it was his backyard. He pushed off before sunrise, thinking not of international law, but of his catch. The fish were scarcer now. He had to travel farther, risking more. He remembered stories of seas so rich you could walk on the fish, now a distant dream. His mission was simple: provide for his family. As dawn broke, hope and anxiety mingled in his heart. He belonged to the sea, and believed the sea belonged to everyone. He didn't know men in suits were drawing lines over his fishing grounds. He only knew the sea was changing, and his life was getting harder. The storm was already here, long before the world gave it a name. For Mang Eli, every day was a quiet act of resilience. To understand the Filipino soul, you must understand its history, written in blood, sweat, and salt water. Colonized by Spain for over 3 centuries, the Philippines endured foreign rule and fought for freedom. The Americans arrived, promising liberation but imposing their own control. The Philippine-American War left deep scars, but the dream of self-determination survived. World War II brought brutal Japanese occupation, but also fierce Filipino resistance. Each wave of invasion forged a national identity, rooted in the fight for sovereignty. This history taught Filipinos, freedom is precious, and must be defended. So when a new foreign power claims their seas, it's not just politics, it's a painful echo of the past. The West Philippine Sea is about dignity, not just resources. It's about standing as equals, free from the shadow of larger powers. The struggle for sovereignty is centuries old, and still ongoing. Every Filipino carries this legacy in their bones. China's statements were clear. Inzid and Dawan, Sanandan, indisputable sovereignty over nearly the entire South China Sea. The nine-dash line cut deep into the Philippines' exclusive economic zone, overlapping waters recognized by international law as Filipino. For Beijing, these claims were rooted in history. For Filipinos, they were a direct assault on their future. China's words were backed by action, massive Coast Guard ships patrolling traditional Filipino fishing grounds. The message: this is our sea now. For Mang Eli, legal jargon meant nothing. What mattered was the shadow of a Chinese ship blocking his path. The blare of a horn, the threat of force, these were the new realities. Beijing's proclamations weren't just rhetoric, they were barriers, choking the life from coastal communities. The dragon's claim was not abstract, it was a wall of steel on the water. For Filipino fishermen, every day at sea became a test of courage. For Filipino fishermen, the sea's bounty has dwindled, and fear has grown. Once trips to Scarborough Shoal meant full nets and hope for the future. Now they're forced closer to shore, catching less, earning less. Encounters with Chinese Coast Guard vessels are frequent and tense. Water cannons, cut lines, blocked access. These aren't naval battles, but confrontations between armed ships and unarmed fishermen. The psychological toll is immense. Every trip is a gamble. The ripple effect hits entire communities. Less fish means less work, less food, and uncertain futures. Children's schooling suffers, local economies wither. The empty nets lead to empty plates and empty pockets. This is not just about national pride, it's an economic crisis. The fishermen are not soldiers, they are fathers, sons, and husbands persevering against the odds. On the water, the message is brutal. This is ours, you are not welcome. The struggle is personal, and it is relentless. Facing impossible odds, the Philippines turned to international law. In 2013, it filed a case against China at The Hague, challenging the 9-dash line. The 2016 tribunal ruling was a resounding victory. China's claims had no legal basis. The world's highest maritime court sided with the Philippines, but China rejected the ruling, calling it a piece of paper destined to come to naught. On the water, nothing changed. Chinese ships stayed, blockades tightened. The victory on paper did not translate to a victory at sea. Filipinos held the legal and moral high ground, but China had the ships. The paradox was bitter. The law was on their side, but reality was unchanged. For Mang Ili and his peers, the ruling was just that, a piece of paper. The standoff continued, with fishermen still chased from their own waters. The world applauded the legal win, but the struggle remained. The Philippines had proven its case, but enforcement was another battle. The fight for justice was far from over. On the sea, power still spoke louder than law. The world's eyes turned to the South China Sea after the tribunal ruling. Global powers called for respect of the decision and a rules-based order. China responded with defiance, building islands, militarizing and dismissing criticism. Its presence on the sea grew, projecting strength and control. The Philippines chose a different path: quiet, dignified firmness. Coast Guard and Navy patrols documented every incident, filming aggression and logging harassment. They responded not with force, but with truth, gathering evidence and sharing it with the world. This transparency shifted the global narrative. Admiration grew for the Philippines' restraint and resolve. Outmatched militarily, they refused to be bullied into silence. Their defiance was powerful, winning the battle for international opinion. The world was shocked, not by shouting, but by quiet courage. The Philippines stood its ground, and the world took notice. Far from global debates, Filipino fishermen tell a simpler story. They worry about their children's futures, not geopolitics. I was able to send my daughter to college from the sea, says Lito. Now, I worry for my son. The catch is so small. Aling Maria manages the household on a dwindling income, praying for her husband's safety and a good catch. Young people question if a life at sea is still possible. As tradition and livelihood erode, the threat is not just to income, but to culture and identity. When asked what they want, their answers are simple: to fish in peace, to provide for their families, to have a future. They do not call for war or revenge, just respect and the right to work. What matters is dignity, not abstract national honor. The real stakes are human food on the table, children in school, a way of life preserved. The crisis is not just about territory, it's about survival. Their voices remind us what's truly at risk. Behind every headline is a family, a community, a legacy. That is what truly matters. In the end, the true shock is not China's words, but the Philippines' response. The nation's strength is not in its navy, but in its people's resilience and convictions. Choosing law over force, transparency over aggression, the Philippines teaches a different lesson. This quiet strength is seen in the fisherman who braves the sea and the Coast Guard officer who calmly documents injustice. It is the courage to stand firm without raising a fist, to insist on respect. The Filipino spirit, forged through centuries of struggle, bends, but never breaks. The response to the West Philippine Sea crisis is a modern expression of this resilience. Filipinos are not asking for a fight, they are asking for justice. They demand that the rules apply to all, big or small. As the sun sets on the West Philippine Sea, the narrative has changed. The real headline is the quiet strength and dignity of the Filipino people. In the face of force, they endure, stand firm, and hold on to their soul.